cuties! We are converging the world of AuthorTube and BookTube today. And I'm gonna tell you what books my characters would be if they were a book that's already published and out in the world, not my own book. I have a pretty big cast of characters in the Ashport Archives. Hi, also, duh, I'm the author of the Ashport Archives. There are 3 books in this series so far, with a 4th one coming out later this year. Check it out. It's an urban fantasy with my original Phoenix mythology featuring a ragtag group of mythological misfits. And it's those misfits we are characterizing as books today. Was that like a cheesy enough line? I think that works. Let's go through my characters and see what books I think they are. Obviously, if you've never read my books, this might not make a whole lot of sense to you, but also, you get some book recommendations and you get to learn more about my books, and maybe you want to read mine too. Cool! So first up, the main character of the Ashport Archives is Connolly. She's the type of hero that doesn't want to be a hero. She's forced into a lot of situations, but she does get shit done. She's very food motivated, has very poor timing, and has a lot of problem with authority. She just wants to be left the hell alone. Because of these qualities, I think that Connolly is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a sci-fi book. There are 3 books in the series, and each book features 2 different main characters, but definitely Illuminae itself feels very Levin. It's a story of people who are on an illegal mining planet and get caught and have to evacuate. This former couple, like they literally just broke up, are now both on this spaceship trying to get to a space station, but all the while there's like a mysterious zombie plague kind of thing going on, an untrustworthy AI, and they're both kind of thrust into trying to save the people on this ship. And it's very exciting. It's a very different type of book because it's got a lot of typography inside of it, kind of some mixed media in it, and I really, really love it. It's a 5-star read for me, and it's very Levin. Next character is Colt. Colt is my half-demon bad boy. Not really a bad boy, he's a big softie. He just likes to pretend that he's a bad boy. He is very loyal, he is protective, he is going to do what needs to be done. He has his own personal issues because he's half-demon, he fights with whether or not, he's good or evil, and if his motivations are well-founded in goodness or not. In the books, we see a lot of transition between the 2 sides of himself and his battle for his humanity or his demonic side. So, because of that, I think Colt is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. He's kind of the entire trilogy because our characters in The Young Elites, especially our main character, goes through this journey of, is she the hero or is she the villain? I feel like that is very relatable for Colt. The Young Elites, again, is a really great series. I think it's a very underrated series by Marie Lu. Most people go for Legend, and I love Legend, but Legend isn't Colt. The Young Elites is Colt. So The Young Elites is a book that features characters in this fantasy world that have a kind of superpower, but those people are looked down on, they're feared, and there is a rebel group that our main character joins up with, but her own power of illusion twists her own mind a little bit, and she goes on a bit of a darker path and then has to, come out of the darkness from that. So that's Colt. Then we have Nigel. Nigel is Levin's best friend, childhood best friend. He is supportive, he is snarky, he's all over the place. He's got a lot going on for him. He's a new vampire, so he's getting used to that world, but he's already kind of integrated into the world even before Levin was, so he's a little bit more used to it, but at the same time he's with her on supporting her, but also really being focused on his own needs because now he's a vampire. He's gotta get blood. He's sorry, but he gotta drink it. But he's a very complicated character in that, he is the best friend, but he's more than that. He's got his own arcs, he's got his own love interests going on, and he has his own struggles with you know, being this and what that means for him and the rest of eternity. So I think that Nigel Watkins is The Diviners by Libba Bray. The Diviners features a very broad cast of marginalized characters who all have kind of superpowers, psychic abilities more so. They're fighting against these unnatural forces in the world. Nigel himself is gay, and we have some gay characters, and if I was going to relate him to a specific character, yes, it would be Henry. He's a very chillax kind of guy, go with the flow, and so is Henry in this. But the overall theme of Diviners is that you have these very underdog heroes in this, and Nigel is very much that type of character. So definitely read The Diviners, guys. It's amazing. Sadie Alduino, my precious little ghost girl. So Sadie is dead, but she ain't gone. Sadie is very sweet. She's very kind, but at the same time, if you mess with her, she will mess you up. I know some people will be like, oh, you're gonna say Sadie, aren't you? By Courtney Summers, because Sadie, ha. What book I think Sadie really represents is The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. This is an Avatar book featuring Kyoshi, our favorite avatar. He's my favorite avatar for the Earth avatar. Yes! And I really hope that they adapt Kyoshi's whole storyline into another animated series because I love Avatar so much. But Sadie is very Kyoshi in the fact that in Kyoshi's storyline starts her out fairly weak, and then she has to kind of come into herself. And for Sadie, I mean, she's dead in the beginning. She's a ghost. And she goes through her own arc where she ends up in control of a lot of things in their entire Ashport gang. So a lot of responsibility is thrust onto her that she was not prepared for, much like Kyoshi. So there is their connection. Sen Windrider. Oh, my precious sylph. I love him so much. How do I describe Sen Windrider? Sen is very sarcastic. He's very comfortable with himself. He's very confident. He's flirtatious, but he has darker secrets inside. He has his own scars, if you will. Because of this and his journey as a character in the Ashford Archives, I have deemed him King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. It's the first book in the Nikolai duology. We don't have a second one yet. Leigh Bardugo, where is it? Then I relate a lot with Nikolai. When they're introduced, at least, they're both very confident, they're flirtatious, they're very much their own person. But in King of Scars, we delved more into Nikolai's character and his own trauma, and Sen also experiences this kind of thing with his own backstory and his involvement with certain villains. I won't spoil anything for you guys, but his own journey with his relationship with other characters and becoming who he is today. And I think he and Nikolai would have a lot in common if they were to sit down and have a chat. Cindy Pope, my teenage werewolf. I adore Cindy. I mean, I adore all my characters. What am I talking about? I keep saying I adore them. I do, because I've made them, obviously. Cindy is very determined. She is determined to prove herself because she is young. She is a new werewolf, but that ain't gonna stop her. She's not necessarily confident, but she has the desire to improve herself and to prove to everyone around that she is responsible and she can take care of things and she is a worthy opponent and someone to fear. Basically, when the shit hits the fan, Cindy is not gonna back down. She's not a coward about this. She's going to figure this out. And so, by that description, Cindy is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. In The Bone Houses, we have the character of Rin, who is very... She's a get-her-done kind of girl. She's running the graveyard for her family because her father has disappeared. She's taking care of her brother. She carries a freaking axe wherever she goes, and she's ready to chop down these bone houses and defend her city, her family, and her new friend that she meets along the way. This kind of character and story of these girls who are underestimated a lot of the time, but are ready and they will get stuff done. They will defeat the bad guys no matter what. They have the determination to do so. Makes The Bone Houses Cindy. Avery Sidero. Oh, Avery. My chaotic little Spriggan. He is a dark elf. He is one of my favorite characters to write. He is self-serving. He likes to play the game, if you will. He is always looking out for himself. Above all things, he is looking out for himself, which makes him Artemis by Andy Weir. In Artemis, our main character, Jazz, is very self-serving as well. She is a reluctant hero. When things go wrong, she gets involved in some pretty sketchy things with the mafia and smuggling on this kind of tourist resort on the moon. She's just trying to make a living for herself and do her own thing without anyone, you know, getting all up in her business. All right, it's her life, stay out of it. And that's just very Avery. He's gonna do what's best for him. Same with Jazz. Hal! Oh, Hal. Hal is a warlock. He is also the boyfriend of Sadie. Don't ask me how it works. It works. Yes, there's a warlock dating a ghost. It's fine. Hal is sweet. He loves very hard, but he is very torn between his own darkness and his love for Sadie in particular. He will do anything to make sure that she's okay. He's a little bit problematic in his desire to achieve the means of what he wants to accomplish. I'm sorry I'm being so vague, but no spoilers. He's a very loyal guy. It takes him a moment to open up to other people, but once he's done that, you're in his group. And that is why Hal is All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders. This book features two main characters, one who is a witch, one who is a mad scientist, and they become friends against all odds. They're childhood friends, they drift apart, and they come back together. Both of them are, again, they're fighting with this are they on the right side kind of conflict. Really the meshing of those worlds that will help kind of save the day in the end. And Hal is very much that. He's fighting with these two sides of himself, of what conflictions he has in helping Levin more so than helping him and Sadie. And he does what he's got to do in order to achieve those goals. But in the end, he has to kind of reassess what that means. And that's a lot about the journey in All the Birds in the Sky, is these children that grow up in these not so great situations and grow up into their own, but was that the right path for them? The path is what's changed them, and they wonder if that's for better or worse. And that's very much Hal's story as well. Darren Crawford, again, one of my favorite characters, probably my favorite character of all. She is a mystery. She's magical. She's magical Mr. Mistopheles. No, you don't really know what's gonna happen next with Darren. She doesn't ever like to give you straight answers. She will appear out of nowhere, disappear. She's got crows all around for some reason. You're not quite sure what's going on with Darren. Why does she know so much about these things? Why is she here? Is she the bad guy? Is she the good guy? What is this person? And for that reason, Darren is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a battle of magicians in a circus, and it's very magical and mystical and intricate and strange, and doesn't really give you answers straightforward, but it pulls you in and you want to know more, but you're never gonna get it. And that's Darren. Her whole MO is to be a mystery. You're not gonna remember her. She's not gonna bother telling you anyway. And for those reasons, The Night Circus is Darren. Also aesthetically, very similar. And Altair Zeman, my little Esquire boy. He is an alchemist. He is a super nerd. He really wants to please everyone, but he is underestimated as hell. He's very, very intelligent and a little chaotic bubble of nerves. And that is why he is The Disasters by M.K. England, because Altair is a disaster. He's a bisexual disaster is what he is. He doesn't know how to handle feelings because he's not very confident in himself, except when he's talking about like alchemy and stuff and nerdy things and books. So that's why he's The Disasters. Just because he's a disaster. Nothing to do with the plot. No, I'm just kidding. With The Disasters, you have a found family of a ragtag group of misfits who were all expelled from their space academy and are forced to band together when terrorists basically attack the academy and kill everybody. And it's up to them to expose what has happened, but they don't know what they're doing. They were just expelled. They can't be the heroes. They don't know what they're doing. And it's this journey of coming into one's own and coming to terms with your own feelings. One of the characters in particular is bisexual and just doesn't know who he has more feelings for until like the end of the book. And that's very Altair. He's so conflicted. And lastly, we have Taliba. Taliba is unconventional. She's a little strange. You think she's normal, and then what, is she talking to something else in the room, or is she just talking to herself? Huh. She's a bit of a mystery. You can't quite figure her out. She's kind of the outsider of the group for the most. I mean, aside from the fact that she's the only Muslim person in the Ashport archives, she was the first Muslim girl in the Alchemists Academy in Prague, and that affected her a lot. And she sees things that nobody else is hearing or seeing, and you kind of wonder if she's okay. And for that reason, Taliba is The Graces by Laura Eve. If you're a fan of the movie The Craft, you will love The Graces. The Graces involve these three siblings who are probably witches, and most people know that they're witches, but they're so beautiful and everybody wants to be around them. And you have the new girl in town, kind of. Not really a new girl, but she knows about the Graces and she wants to be a Grace. She wants to be part of them. And she is very unconventional herself. She's different in her own magical abilities. Does she have them? She don't know. It's kind of a weird situation. And that's where it's kind of borderline magical realism. And if Taliba was a genre, it would be magical realism. And that's more so where she falls into the Graces and the Curses, both the duology for it. Maybe third book, maybe, Laurie, maybe. Taliba is just so unconventional, and I feel like this book is very unconventional that they mesh well together. And there you have it. Those are mostly, that's pretty much the main cast. There's a few more that I didn't include, but this video is probably long anyway. So that's what we have for today. What do you think? Have you read any of these books? If you have, that's kind of how I feel my characters are. If you've read my books, do you agree with me? Other writers out there, if you want to try doing this yourself, feel free. It's really easy to do. If you've read a lot of books and you know your characters pretty well, make your characters other books. There you go. If you guys like the content that I am making, please check out my Ko-fi page, and you can support me by buying me a hot chocolate to sustain me as a content creator. And of course, you can always leave your questions and comments down below or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. And I'll see you next time, cuties. Bye! It's an urban fantasy featuring original myth. It's an original Phoenix. What is it? What's the word? This is a battle of magicians in a circus, and there are cars honking.